The execution plaza was carved from black volcanic stone, its surface polished smooth by centuries of use. Crystalline pillars ringed the circular space, each one etched with the names of those who had died here: criminals, traitors, heretics. The list was long. The Jathik were not a forgiving people. Sira knelt in the center of the plaza, her wrists bound behind her back with energy shackles that hummed with barely contained power. Her silver skin was bruised, her white hair matted with blood from where the guards had struck her. She was 16 years old by Jathik standards, barely more than a child, and she was about to die. The crowd had gathered to watch. Hundreds of her own people stood in silence, their faces expressionless, their golden eyes cold. This was tradition. This was justice. She had broken the sacred code, and the code demanded death. High Arbiter Krell stood before her, his ceremonial robes flowing in the hot wind that swept across the plaza. He held the blade of judgment, a weapon passed down through generations, its edge sharp enough to split atoms. His voice, when he spoke, carried across the plaza with amplified clarity. Seer of House Talvin, you have been found guilty of the highest crime. You have touched the sacred texts with unworthy hands. You have read forbidden knowledge. You have questioned the code itself. He paused, letting the weight of her crimes settle over the crowd. For these transgressions there is only one punishment: death. Sira's voice came out as barely more than a whisper, but she forced herself to speak. Please, I only wanted to learn. I only wanted to understand why. Silence. Krell's shout echoed off the crystalline pillars. You have no right to speak. You have no right to question. The code is absolute. The code is eternal. But the code is wrong. The words burst from Sira before she could stop them. Even now, facing death, she couldn't contain the truth that had burned inside her for years. Half our people are forbidden from learning, from thinking, from being anything more than servants. How is that justice? How is that? The blow came from one of the guards, a strike to her temple that sent her sprawling onto the black stone. Blood trickled down her face, warm against her silver skin. The crowd didn't react. They had seen this before. They would see it again. Krell raised the blade of judgment. May your death serve as a warning to all who would challenge the natural order. Sira closed her eyes. She had begged, she had pleaded. There was nothing left but to wait for the end. The blade began its descent, and then a voice, rough, accented, unmistakably foreign, rang out across the plaza. Stop! Every head turned. The blade halted inches from Sira's neck. A human stood at the edge of the plaza, one hand raised as if he could physically halt the execution through sheer will. He was tall by human standards, with dark skin and close cropped black hair. His clothing marked him as a trader: practical cargo pants and a worn jacket with the patch of the Merchant Guild visible on his shoulder. His name was Jordan Cross, and he had been on the Jathik homeworld for exactly 3 days. You dare interrupt a sacred ceremony? Krell's voice dripped with venom. Guards, remove this. I invoke the right of intervention, Jordan shouted, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had done his homework. As a registered merchant with standing on this world, I have the legal right to challenge an execution if I can demonstrate that the condemned has value to interstellar commerce. Krell's golden eyes narrowed. The right of intervention was an old law implemented centuries ago when the Jathik had first joined the galactic community. It had been designed to prevent the execution of valuable trade partners and diplomats. It had rarely been used, and never for someone like Sira, a low-caste girl with no connections, no resources, no apparent value. This child has no connection to commerce, Krell said coldly. Your intervention is invalid. I'm making her my apprentice. Jordan walked forward, moving with deliberate confidence into the plaza. Several guards moved to intercept him, but Krell raised a hand to stop them. Under Galactic Merchant Guild regulations, an apprentice is considered an extension of their master's business interests. Executing her would be an economic crime against my enterprise. You cannot simply claim apprenticeship to save a criminal. Actually, I can. Guild law is pretty clear on this. Jordan pulled a data pad from his jacket and held it up. I've already filed the paperwork. It's been processed and approved by the guild registrar. Seer of House Talvin is now officially my apprentice trader. You execute her, you'll have the entire merchant guild filing grievances against your world. Trust me, you don't want that kind of economic pressure. Sierra stared at this human stranger with confusion and desperate hope warring in her chest. She had never seen him before, had never spoken to him. Why would he risk himself for her? Krell's jaw tightened. Even if your claim is legally valid, she is still guilty of crimes against our code. The law demands punishment. Then punish her with exile, Jordan said. She leaves your world, you never have to see her again, and the code remains, whatever it is to you people, intact, unchallenged, sacred. The crowd murmured, a low, angry sound like distant thunder. Exile was traditionally worse than death for the Jathic. Be cast out from one's people to wander among aliens was considered a fate worse than any blade, but it was technically an acceptable alternative. Krell studied Jordan with cold calculation. Why would you do this for a worthless girl you do not know? Jordan met his gaze without flinching. Because I was standing in the market when your guards dragged her through the streets. I heard her crying, begging for mercy. I asked around, found out what she did. He paused. She read a book, that's it. She read something she wasn't supposed to, and you were going to kill her for it. And I thought, no, not on my watch. Our laws are not your concern, human. Human laws say that killing kids for reading is messed up, so yeah, it became my concern. The tension in the plaza was thick enough to cut. Sierra could feel her heart hammering against her ribs, could feel the energy shackles burning against her wrists. This human was risking everything, his business, his safety, possibly his life for her. A stranger, a worthless, low-caste girl. Krell lowered the blade of judgment slowly. Very well, if you want this criminal so badly, you may have her. She is exiled from this world, never to return. Her name will be struck from all records. She will be as one who never existed. He turned to Sierra, his expression filled with disgust. You are no longer Jathic. You are nothing. May you find only suffering among the stars. The guards released the energy shackles. Sierra's arms fell to her sides, numb and tingling. She couldn't quite process what had just happened. Saved. She had been saved. Jordan helped her to her feet, his grip gentle but firm. Can you walk? She nodded mutely. Then let's get out of here before they change their minds. They walked through the silent crowd, hundreds of golden eyes tracking their movement. Sierra felt their hatred, their contempt. She was dead to them now, worse than dead, erased, but she was alive. Jordan's ship was docked at the commercial port, a mid-sized cargo vessel called the Wandering Star. It wasn't fancy, but it was clean and well-maintained. He led Sierra to the medical bay and gestured to the examination table. Sit, let me see those injuries. She sat carefully, wincing as her bruised ribs protested. Why did you save me? Jordan pulled out a medical scanner and began running it over her wounds. Because it was the right thing to do. You do not know me. I am nothing. It's the nothing now. You're a kid who wanted to learn. There's nothing less than nothing about that. He frowned at the scanner's readings. You've got a concussion, 3 cracked ribs, and extensive bruising. Nothing life-threatening, but you're going to be sore for a while. He began pulling out supplies, dermal regenerators, pain medication, antiseptic. This might sting a bit. As he worked, treating her wounds with practiced efficiency, Sierra studied him. You are not what I expected humans to be. Yeah. What did you expect? The stories say humans are violent, chaotic, unpredictable. Jordan laughed, a short, bitter sound. Well, they're not entirely wrong. We can be all those things, but we can also be kind, brave, stupidly idealistic. He applied a dermal patch to the cut on her temple. Apparently, I'm leaning toward the stupidly idealistic end of the spectrum today. You said I am your apprentice now. What does that mean? It means you work for me. Help me run cargo, maintain the ship, learn the trade routes and merchant protocols. It's not glamorous work, but it's honest. He met her eyes, warm brown against her silver skin and golden gaze. And it means you're under my protection. Anyone wants to hurt you, they go through me first. Tears welled up in Sira's eyes. I do not understand. Why would you protect someone like me? Someone like you mean brave, because that's what you are. You stood up to your entire society, questioned laws that were unjust, and even when they were about to execute you, you didn't recant. You didn't apologize for wanting knowledge. He smiled. That takes guts. That takes the kind of person I want on my crew. I have no skills. I know nothing of ships or trade. Then you'll learn. Everyone starts somewhere. Jordan finished bandaging her wounds and stepped back. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. This life isn't easy. We're going to visit 100 different worlds, deal with 1,000 different cultures. Some of them will be hostile to Jathik. Some will be hostile to humans. We'll face pirates, corrupt officials, and terrible station food. But you'll be free to learn, to think, to be whoever you want to be. Sira looked around the medical bay at this ship that was now somehow her home. She thought about the black stone plaza, about the blade that had come so close to ending her life. About the crowd that had watched without mercy. I want to learn everything, she said quietly. I want to learn about every world, every culture, every kind of knowledge that exists. I want to understand why some people build laws that chain minds while others fight to break those chains. Then that's what we'll do. Jordan extended his hand, a human gesture of agreement and partnership. Welcome to the crew of the Wandering Star, Sira. Your education starts now. She took his hand, her silver fingers against his dark skin. The gesture felt significant, like sealing a pact that would change both their lives. Over the following months, Sira threw herself into learning with the hunger of someone who had been starved. Jordan taught her about navigation, cargo manifests, fuel efficiency, and negotiation tactics. She learned human customs, Vaxian trade protocols, Centauri poetry, and Delphinian mathematics. She read everything she could access through the ship's database, staying up late into the night cycle, absorbing knowledge like a plant drinking sunlight. Jordan was patient, answering her endless questions, challenging her assumptions, encouraging her curiosity. He treated her not as a servant or a rescued charity case, but as a partner in training, an equal in potential, if not yet in experience. 6 months after her near execution, they were docked at Station Meridian when Sira found Jordan in the cargo bay, checking inventory. Jordan, she said, I have been thinking. Dangerous habit, I taught you that. He grinned at her. You saved my life, you gave me freedom, you gave me the chance to become something more than what my people said I could be. She stepped forward, her expression serious. I want to know why, truly, not the answer you gave the arbiter, but the real reason. Jordan set down his data pad and leaned against a cargo container. You really want to know? Yes. He was quiet for a moment, gathering his thoughts. When I was 12, I lived on Earth in a district where the schools were underfunded and overcrowded. I loved learning, but the teachers didn't have the resources to really teach us. One day, this merchant spacer came to our school, some kind of outreach program. He saw me reading a physics textbook that was 20 years out of date, and he just gave me a new one, current edition. And then he talked to me for an hour about orbital mechanics and jump drives and the mathematics of interstellar trade. Jordan smiled at the memory. That conversation changed my life. It showed me there was a universe beyond the broken schools and limited opportunities. It made me believe I could be more. So when I saw you being dragged to execution for the crime of curiosity, for wanting to learn, I thought maybe I could be that person for you, the one who opens the door. Sierra felt tears on her cheeks, not tears of sorrow, but of understanding. You saw yourself in me. Maybe, or maybe I just saw someone worth saving. She moved forward and in a gesture she had learned from human customs, embraced him. Jordan returned the embrace carefully, mindful of cultural boundaries but accepting the gratitude. "Thank you," Sierra whispered, "for everything, for seeing value where my own people saw none, for teaching me that knowledge is not a crime but a gift, for showing me that mercy and courage can come from the most unexpected places." "You're welcome, kid." Jordan pulled back, his eyes suspiciously bright. "Now come on, we've got a cargo run to prep and you're going to calculate the jump coordinates." "Think you can handle it?" Sierra straightened, wiping her tears away. "Yes, Captain, I can handle it." As they worked together in the cargo bay, preparing for their next journey among the stars, Sierra thought about the girl who had knelt on black volcanic stone, begging for mercy. That girl was gone, her name erased from Jathic records. In her place stood someone new, someone free, someone who had been given a second chance by a human with a kind heart and an unshakable sense of justice. And she would make every moment of that gift count.